The day began in a quiet way, but something in the air felt different. It was the kind of morning where people moved fast but thought slow. The studio hallway was full of footsteps, voices, and the usual rush before a big shoot. Yet in this noise, one small moment was about to change everything. It would look simple from the outside, but for Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock, it would become something deeper. It would show kindness in a world that often forgets it. The hook begins the moment Sandra stepped inside the hallway with a bag full of scripts, a cup of coffee, and a tired smile that she tried to hide. She looked strong as always, but her eyes told a different story. They carried the weight of a long night, a heavy mind, and a heart trying to stay steady. Nobody noticed it at first. People were too busy rushing around her. They moved past her like she was part of the background. But one person noticed every small thing, and that was Keanu. The moment happened fast. Sandra accidentally bumped into a chair left in the middle of the hallway. The bag slipped from her hand. The script scattered on the floor. The coffee cup rolled away. Her breath caught for one short second. The room kept moving around her. Nobody paused, nobody turned, nobody cared enough to look. Except Keanu. He noticed the fall before it even happened. He saw her shoulders tremble a little, he saw her fingers tighten around the bag, and he stepped toward her without thinking twice. Before anyone could react, before even she could react, he reached out, held the bag from dropping, and gathered the scripts with calm hands. He did it quietly, like it was the most natural thing to do. He did it with a softness that did not need attention. This small act did something inside Sandra, not because he helped her, but because he helped her without making her feel weak. There was no drama in his eyes, no judgment, no loud words, only a silent truth that she mattered. She knelt down to pick the papers, but he was already there beside her. His voice was soft, his tone steady. He said, "You do not have to rush today. I got this." And for some reason, those words hit her harder than she expected. She felt a warmth inside her chest, the kind of warmth that appears when someone sees you even when you pretend everything is fine. She let out a small breath. "Thank you." Her voice was quiet but sincere. She rarely let people see her tired. She rarely let anyone notice she was struggling. But Keanu had a way of understanding things without being told. He always carried a calm presence that grounded her. Even now, even in something as simple as picking up fallen papers, he made her feel safe. People in the hallway finally noticed. A few slowed down, someone whispered, but Keanu did not care. His mind was only on helping her. He handed her the last script and said, "You do not deserve to carry all this alone." She looked at him then, really looked, and she felt something she had not felt in days, relief. But when she stood up fully, he noticed something others could not see. Her hand shook, not from the fall but from something deeper, something she had been hiding. He stepped a little closer and asked, "Are you all right?" The moment his voice touched her ears, she almost broke, but she forced a smile. "Yes, I am okay, just a long night." He did not believe her. He could see the truth in her eyes. He could see the story she was not ready to share. But he did not push. He only said, "If your day gets heavy, you can tell me. I can handle it." The way he said it made her chest tighten, not in fear but in comfort. She had forgotten what it felt like to have someone who genuinely cared. They began walking toward the set room together. The air around them felt lighter, but inside both of them something had shifted. Sandra felt a strange tension inside her heart. She wondered if he felt it too, and Keanu felt an instinct he could not explain, as if he needed to stay near her, protect her, or simply be present. He did not understand why the moment affected him this much, but he knew it meant something. As they walked, Sandra glanced at him and asked, "Why do you always notice when I am not okay?" Keanu walked with slow steps. His eyes held a gentleness that felt rare. He said, "Because people often look at faces, but I try to look at what the heart is trying to hide." Her breath stopped for a second. His words were simple but honest, and she felt something break open inside her. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe it was trust, maybe it was something even deeper. But before she could speak again, something unexpected happened. A loud crash echoed from the nearby storage room. People turned, someone shouted. Sandra jumped a little. Keanu moved instantly, stepping in front of her without thinking. His body acted faster than his mind. His first instinct was to protect her. There was silence for a moment, then footsteps rushing, then a voice saying it fell from the top shelf, "Everything is fine." People went back to their tasks. The moment passed for everyone. But for Sandra, the way Keanu moved in front of her stayed in her mind. The quickness, the instinct, the concern. She whispered, "You did not even think. You just stepped in front of me." Keanu looked at her with calm eyes and said, "Some things do not need thinking. They just happen because they should." Those words reached something inside her heart, something she thought she had closed away for years, something she did not expect to feel again. And in that quiet hallway with lights buzzing above and people rushing around them, a connection formed, gentle but strong, soft but real, a bond that would grow into something none of them saw coming, a bond that began with one simple moment. Sandra dropped her things, and Keanu picked them up before anyone reacted. What they did not know is that this small moment was the beginning of something much bigger, something that would test them, reveal hidden truths, and pull them into a story filled with emotion, twists, and the kind of human depth that changes people forever. They walked toward the set with heavy minds and warm hearts. Something important had started, something neither of them wanted to walk away from. The day moved forward, but Sandra kept thinking about that moment in the hallway. Every time she tried to focus on the script, her mind returned to the way Keanu quietly helped her, the way he stepped in front of her without hesitation, and the warmth she felt when he said he saw what the heart tried to hide. She felt a mix of gratitude and confusion. It was strange how a simple act could open so many emotions inside her. The hook begins when Sandra entered the rehearsal room and noticed Keanu sitting alone in a corner, reading his lines with complete focus. He always worked like this, calm, silent, present, but something was different today. His eyes lifted the second she stepped inside, as if he had been waiting for her even without knowing it. She felt that same warmth again, the one that made her heart beat a little faster. She walked toward him, pretending to check her script, but she knew she wanted to be near him. When she reached him, he closed his script gently and said with a soft smile, feeling better now. His voice had a kindness that made her feel understood. She nodded, but she did not want to lie, so she said quietly a little, "But I am still tired." He listened carefully, as if her words mattered. Then he said something that surprised her. "When you are tired, you should not pretend to be strong. You deserve to rest too." His words touched her deeper than she expected. No one usually told her things like that. No one usually noticed, but he did. Before she could respond, the director called them for rehearsals. The scene they had to practice was emotional. Their characters had a conflict, a moment of truth, and a quiet reconciliation. Ironic, she thought. Sometimes real life gives the same emotions the script gives. As they stood in front of each other, preparing to start the scene, Sandra noticed something in Keanu's eyes. Something low, something heavy, something that did not belong to the character. She whispered, "Are you okay?" He gave a small pause, then nodded slowly. "Just thinking too much," he said. Those words stayed in her mind. Keanu was the type of person who carried everything inside. He rarely spoke about himself. He rarely showed his own struggles. Sandra wondered if he was hiding something too, the same way she hid her exhaustion earlier. The director clapped and asked them to begin. Their scene started slow. Sandra delivered her lines with emotion, but as she looked into Keanu's eyes, she realized he was somewhere mentally distant. He was speaking the words, but his mind felt far. She could sense it. She could feel his internal weight. She could feel that something was pulling at him from inside. When her character was supposed to break down, something surprising happened. She felt her real emotions mixing with the script. She felt her breath shake. And when she delivered her line, "Tell me what you are hiding," her voice cracked genuinely. It was not acting. It was her heart speaking. She did not expect it. Neither did Keanu. His eyes widened just a little, as if he felt the truth under her words. He stepped closer, instinctively, like he wanted to comfort her. But the scene demanded space, and he caught himself. They continued, but their breathing felt heavier, their emotions closer to reality, and their words carried more weight than the script intended. When the rehearsal ended, the director praised them. He said that was powerful, that was real, but neither of them smiled. They both knew something deeper had happened. They stepped aside, needing space to breathe. Sandra wiped her eyes lightly. She hated crying in front of people. She hated looking weak. Keanu saw that. He stepped closer and asked softly, "You are not okay, are you?" She tried to answer, but her voice failed. She only shook her head. Without thinking, he rested his hand gently on her shoulder. Not grabbing, not pulling, just being there, present, steady, warm. She closed her eyes for a moment and breathed in. His presence calmed her. His silence comforted her. This was why people trusted him. He had a calming strength that did not try to fix you. It only tried to stand beside you. But then something surprising happened. Keanu removed his hand quickly and stepped back a little. His expression changed. He looked unsure, distant, almost guilty. Sandra noticed instantly. He whispered, "I am sorry. I did not mean to cross any line." His words confused her. She stepped toward him slowly. "Keanu, you did not cross anything. You were helping me." Why are you apologizing? He did not look up. He stared at the floor, his voice low. Sometimes when I care, I worry I am doing too much. Those words hit her heart. He cared. He actually cared, not out of obligation, not out of habit, not out of politeness. He cared because something in him felt connected to her. She wanted to say something, anything, but before she could, they both heard someone call from outside the rehearsal room. Voices echoed down the hallway. A few crew members rushed by, talking loudly about something that had just happened. They caught bits and pieces of the conversation. Someone said she should not have been alone. Another said she was trying to carry too much. Another voice added, it happened so fast. The tone was serious, urgent, worried. Keanu and Sandra exchanged a look. Without speaking, they both walked toward the hallway. The air felt tense. Their steps grew faster. Something had gone wrong. As they turned the corner, they saw a group of people gathered near the storage area. A crew member sat on the floor, holding her ankle and shaking slightly. A few others tried to help her. She looked scared but conscious. The moment Sandra saw her face, she froze. The girl was young, new, and always nervous. She was the one Sandra had spoken to last week, the one who said she was afraid of making mistakes. Now she was injured, and the fear in her eyes reminded Sandra of herself. She felt her heart twist. Keanu reacted instantly. He moved ahead, knelt down, and asked the girl if she was hurt anywhere else. His voice was calm and steady. The girl nodded weakly and said she slipped while carrying boxes. Sandra stepped beside Keanu and placed a comforting hand on the girl's back. It was the same soft comfort Keanu had given her minutes earlier. Instinctive, real. But then something unexpected happened again. The girl looked up at Sandra, tears in her eyes, and whispered, I only slipped because I was trying to hurry before anyone noticed. That line hit Sandra harder than anything today. She whispered back, you do not have to rush for anyone. Not here, not ever. Keanu looked at Sandra in that moment. He saw something in her he had not seen before. A strength mixed with empathy. A pain mixed with compassion. Something that connected so deeply with who he was. They helped the girl stand. People around them watched, some whispered, but Keanu and Sandra did not care. They walked her slowly to the resting area, step by step, steady, gentle. And as they guided the injured girl, something changed between them. Their steps matched naturally. Their concern aligned perfectly. Their silence felt warm instead of strange. It was not just kindness now. It was connection. A connection that neither asked for but both needed. And something inside both of them whispered that this moment was only the beginning. The next morning arrived with a quiet heaviness in the studio. It was the kind of heaviness that people did not speak about, but everyone felt. Sandra woke up thinking about the injured crew member, the tense hallway, and the way Keanu stayed by that girl's side longer than anyone else. He had a gentle way of guiding people out of fear. Sandra admired that more than she could say. But something else kept replaying in her mind. It was the way Keanu had stepped back from her after placing his hand on her shoulder, as if caring too much scared him, as if he carried some hidden story he wasn't ready to share. She could still see the guilt in his eyes, and for the first time in a long time, she wanted to understand someone more deeply. The hook begins when Sandra arrived on set and noticed something unexpected. Keanu was not in his usual quiet corner reading the script. He was outside near the coffee machine talking to the young crew member they helped yesterday. His posture was relaxed, his voice soft. It looked like he had been there for a while. He made sure she was okay. He made sure she did not feel embarrassed. He made sure she knew she was valued. Sandra stood at a distance, watching. She felt something warm inside her chest. Kindness always touched her heart, but his kindness felt different. It felt deeper, more intentional, more connected. When he finally noticed her standing there, he gave her a small smile. It was gentle and real, the kind of smile that held gratitude for just seeing her. She smiled back. For a moment, neither of them moved. They just looked at each other in a way that said yesterday had meant more than they admitted. Keanu walked toward her slowly. His steps were calm, but his eyes held something thoughtful. He said, I was going to check on you too. You left quick yesterday. She nodded. I needed to clear my head, she said. But when she looked into his eyes, she added softly, thank you for helping her. I watched you. You were very patient. He shrugged a little, but not to dismiss it. More because he did not like attention. He said, sometimes people just need a calm voice to remind them they are safe. Then he paused and added something surprising, kind of like you needed yesterday. Her heart tightened. He was right, and his honesty felt comforting instead of heavy. She breathed slowly and said, I did need it. Thank you for being there. This time she did not hide her feelings behind a smile. She let the sincerity show, and Keanu saw it clearly. Before they could speak further, the director called for a team meeting. Sandra and Keanu walked together. Every step they took side by side made the air between them feel more connected, like something unspoken was forming. The director entered with a serious look. He explained there had been safety issues yesterday and apologized to everyone. Sandra noticed Keanu listening closely, but something about his eyes looked distant again, almost protective, almost worried. She wanted to ask why. The meeting ended, and everyone went back to prepare for the scene. Today's scene was intense. It was a moment where their characters confronted old pain, a moment where they stood face to face with truths they had avoided, and the timing felt almost too real. As they rehearsed the lines quietly, Sandra felt Keanu drifting again. Not physically, but mentally. Like something inside him was pulling him down. She finally whispered, Keanu, what is going on in your mind? He stopped turning the pages. He looked at her slowly. His eyes were steady but heavy. He whispered, nothing you need to worry about. But she knew that tone. It was the tone she used when she did not want to burden anyone. She stepped closer and said softly, that answer works on others, not on me. He let out a slow breath, almost like he had been holding it. Then he said, I just keep thinking about yesterday, about how fast things can go wrong, about how people hide their stress until it breaks them. Sandra felt her chest tighten. She understood that too well. She asked quietly, and you think you always have to catch everyone before they fall? He gave a sad smile. Maybe. Or maybe I am just afraid someone will fall because I was not paying attention. Her breath froze for a moment. Those words revealed something deep, something he had not said before. Before she could ask more, it was time to shoot the scene. They stood in front of each other. The lights came on, the cameras lifted, the room grew silent. The scene began. Their characters were supposed to argue first. Sandra delivered her lines with steady emotion, but Keanu's performance shifted unexpectedly. He was not acting angry, he was acting hurt, real hurt. His voice shook in the smallest way. It threw Sandra off balance. It felt like he was revealing something from inside himself, not the script. Her next line required her to step close to him and say, I am here. Talk to me. But when she stepped close, something shocking happened. Keanu stepped back, not the character, him. His eyes pulled away from hers. His voice softened into something too real. He whispered the next line, but it came out different. It came out broken. Sandra froze. The director noticed but did not cut. He believed they were going deeper into the scene, but Sandra knew this was Keanu, not the character. Something was wrong. She whispered his name off script. Keanu, look at me. He finally lifted his eyes, and for the first time since she had known him, she saw fear in them. Not fear of a person, not fear of the scene. Fear of opening up. Their breathing synchronized, their eyes held each other. The entire set felt like it faded away. She whispered again, what are you hiding? This time he did not step away, he did not avoid. He whispered back, something I did not want to bring into work, something I did not want to put on you. Her heart pounded. She felt closer to him than she ever had. She asked softly, am I the reason you are holding back? He shook his head quickly. No, you are the reason I am not breaking. The line hit her like a wave. For one long moment, neither of them moved. Their eyes held a truth that neither of them expected to reach so soon. Then something unexpected broke the silence. A loud clatter from behind the camera area startled everyone. A metal stand fell over. A crew member shouted for help. Sandra and Keanu snapped out of their moment and rushed toward the sound without thinking. They ran together. They reached the back area where someone had tripped and knocked over equipment. People crowded around. The crew member sat on the floor, holding their shoulder. It was yet another small accident, but the tension in the air exploded. Keanu felt something inside him twist sharply. Sandra saw his expression shift from concern to something deeper. Something that told her these accidents were triggering something painful inside him. She touched his arm gently. Keanu, breathe, you are okay. He closed his eyes for a moment. Her voice grounded him. Someone in the crowd whispered, why are so many accidents happening this week? Someone else said, maybe people are too stressed. Keanu opened his eyes slowly. He whispered to Sandra, this is exactly what I mean. People get hurt when they carry too much alone. She squeezed his arm gently. And you carry too much alone, too. He didn't deny it. He didn't argue. He just looked at her with honest eyes. And in that moment, something shifted again between them. Deeper, more emotional, more vulnerable. They helped the injured crew member to the resting area. The same place they brought the girl yesterday. The same place where people felt safe. And as they finished helping, Keanu looked at Sandra and said quietly, "I need to tell you something. Something I have not told anyone here." Her heart tightened. The moment they had been drifting toward was finally here. And whatever he was about to say would change everything. The studio felt unusually quiet after the second accident. It was the kind of silence that came not from peace but from tension. People were working, but their eyes were tired. Their steps were cautious. Sandra sensed it in every corner of the room, and she sensed it in Keanu even more. She kept replaying his last words. "I need to tell you something. Something I have not told anyone here." His voice carried a weight she did not want him to carry alone. But she also knew she had to wait until he was ready. Pushing him would only make him hide more. The hook begins when Keanu asked her softly, "Can we step outside for a moment?" His voice held a seriousness that made her heart beat a little faster. She nodded and followed him out of the rehearsal hall, past the quiet equipment room, and into a small, empty lounge that overlooked the courtyard. It was one of the only private places on the set. The door closed behind them. The silence felt heavier now. Keanu walked to the window, placed both hands on the ledge, and lowered his head. Sandra watched him closely. He looked steady on the outside, but she could feel the storm beneath the surface. She could see the tension in his shoulders, the slow breathing, the way his hands tightened slightly as if holding something back. She stepped a little closer, stopping a few feet away. She did not want to rush him. She said softly, "I am here, take your time." He lifted his head slowly and looked at her. His eyes looked tired, not physically tired, emotionally tired. He said, "Do you remember when I stepped back yesterday after touching your shoulder?" She nodded. "Yes, and I told you that you did nothing wrong." His eyes lowered again. He sighed. "I know, but something inside me still panicked, something old, something I thought I had buried." Sandra's heart tightened. She took another small step toward him. "What is it, Keanu?" He closed his eyes for a moment, gathering courage. When he opened them, his voice was low and honest. "I have always tried to carry everything so others do not have to. I always try to be calm for everyone. I watch people closely. I try to catch things before they fall, but sometimes it becomes too much. And when I care about someone, it becomes even heavier." Her breath caught. He had never said anything like this before. Keanu looked directly at her now. His eyes were steady but vulnerable. "Yesterday, when I saw you struggling, something inside me reacted too fast. Not just because you needed help, but because I am afraid of losing people I care for. Afraid of not noticing in time. Afraid of being too late." Sandra felt her throat tighten. Those were words she never expected to hear from him. She took another step closer, her voice gentle. "Keanu, you are not responsible for everything that happens around you. You cannot carry everyone's pain." He shook his head slightly. "But I try to. I always try to, and when more accidents happened today, it reminded me of something from before. Something that hurt a long time ago." He paused, then added in a whisper, "and I thought I had moved past it." She understood now. He was not reacting to the accidents themselves. He was reacting to something they reminded him of, something buried deep inside. She moved closer until she stood right beside him. She said softly, "You do not have to tell me the whole story, but let me share the weight. You helped me yesterday. Let me help you today." He looked at her with a softness she had never seen before. Then he spoke slowly, like each word was being pulled from a locked place in his heart. "Long ago, someone I cared about was going through a hard time. I noticed the signs, but I thought they would tell me when they needed help. I kept watching from distance. I kept thinking I should wait, but one day it became too late. They broke down alone, and I felt like I failed them." Sandra took a slow breath. This was the truth he never shared, the one that shaped how he behaved, how he protected, how he stepped forward too quickly or stepped back too fast. He continued, voice softer. "Now when I see people hurting, something inside me reacts too strong. I try to stop it from showing, but yesterday, when you fell, I felt it again. And today with the accidents, it returned even stronger." Sandra placed her hand lightly on his arm. He did not move away this time. She said quietly, "It is not weakness to care deeply. And you did not fail anyone. You are not supposed to save everyone. You are human, a kind one but still human. Keanu looked at her hand on his arm. Then he looked at her face. Something shifted in his chest. A tension slowly softened. He whispered, "Why are you always gentle when it matters most?" Her eyes softened, "Because someone like you deserves gentleness too." The air between them felt warm now, heartfelt, safe. But before they could sink deeper into this moment, they heard hurried footsteps outside. A voice called out urgently, "Sandra, Keanu, we need you both." Something happened. They exchanged a quick look. The calm moment ended. They followed the voice back into the hallway where a group of crew members stood, confused and worried. Someone explained quickly. The lighting board glitched. The power in the rehearsal room flickered. It almost caused a fall again. Sandra saw the stress in the team's eyes. She stepped forward calmly and said, "We need everyone to slow down today. No rushing, no pressure, we are all carrying too much." Keanu stood beside her and added, "Let us take a break before we continue. Breathe, reset." To everyone's surprise, the director agreed. He could see the stress too. People began walking away slowly, relieved to rest. But as the hallway cleared, Sandra felt suddenly lightheaded. It came fast. Her vision blurred for a moment. She quietly reached for the wall. Keanu noticed instantly. He moved to her side as fast as he had yesterday. "Sandra, hey, look at me. You are pale." She tried to smile, but her voice came out weak. "I am okay. I did not eat much this morning." He placed a steady hand on her back to support her. She leaned just slightly into his touch. His presence grounded her again. He whispered, "You do not have to pretend in front of me. Not today, not ever." Her eyes lifted to his slowly, and in that moment she realized something. She trusted him. Deeply. Naturally. Without fear. He guided her carefully to a nearby bench and sat beside her. He handed her his water bottle and said, "Drink slowly. Breathe slow." She followed his words. As she regained her balance, she watched him. The concern in his eyes, the way he stayed beside her, the calm in his voice, it all touched her heart in ways she could not describe. After a few minutes, she whispered, "Keanu, do you know what scares me the most?" He turned to her, listening fully. She said softly, "Being strong for everyone for so long, that I forget someone can be strong for me too." For a moment, he said nothing. He just looked at her with emotion building in his eyes. Then in a voice full of honesty, he answered, "Then let me be strong for you too." Those words hit her deeper than anything else today. This was not just support. This was connection. This was trust. This was something growing quietly but powerfully between them. And neither of them was ready for what would happen next. Because the next accident on set would not be small. And this time, one of them would be directly in danger. The next few hours on set carried a strange tension. People walked slower. The crew double-checked everything. Even the director spoke in a softer voice as if everyone feared the next small mistake could turn into something worse. Sandra and Keanu stayed close without planning too. Their footsteps matched. Their pauses matched. Their breaths matched. Something invisible kept drawing them toward each other. Yet something else lingered in the air too. A feeling that something big was coming, something neither of them could predict. The hook begins when the director announced they would rehearse one of the most emotional scenes of the film. It was the scene where their characters finally opened up about their fears and insecurities. The irony of practicing this scene today was not lost on either of them. Both carried real feelings that were too close to the script. They moved to the main stage where the lighting team adjusted bright, soft lights above them. The room looked calm but strict. Cameras stood still. Props lay neatly arranged. But Sandra felt a tiny uneasiness in her chest. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the memory of almost fainting earlier. Maybe it was the tension she still sensed inside Keanu. When they stepped into position for the scene, Keanu looked at her with gentle concern. He whispered softly, "If you feel dizzy again, tell me. I will stop the scene." She felt warmth spread through her chest. She nodded quietly and said, "I am okay," but her voice shook a little. Keanu noticed. He always noticed. They took their places. The room fell silent. The director raised his hand. 3, 2, 1, action. The scene began with Sandra walking slowly toward Keanu, eyes full of emotion. She delivered her first lines perfectly. Her voice carried the weight of someone trying to confess something long hidden. Keanu listened with deep focus. His acting was strong, but Sandra could feel real emotion behind it. He was not just playing a character. He was feeling the moment with her. When it was his turn to speak, he stepped closer and delivered his lines with a softness that made the room silent. Keanu said, "Sometimes I hide my fears because I do not want to burden you." The line was part of the script, but his voice did something unexpected. It cracked, not dramatically, just enough for Sandra to know the line carried real meaning. She felt tears building in her eyes, not because of the script, because of him. The scene required her to reach toward him. She lifted her hand slowly. Her fingers trembled slightly. She placed her hand lightly on his chest. This was part of the script, but the moment felt too real. Keanu breathed in slowly when her hand touched him. Sandra felt it. She felt his breath, his heartbeat, his tension. She felt everything. She whispered her next line, "I do not want you to carry everything alone." Their eyes locked. The scene was unfolding beautifully, powerful, emotional, raw. But then something strange happened. A soft, rustling sound came from above them. Not loud, not sharp, but enough to make Keanu's eyes shift upward for a brief second. The director shouted, "Keep going. It is fine." Sandra continued her next line, but Keanu looked uneasy now. His eyes darted upward again. Then she heard it too. A faint metallic creaking. Something was wrong. Before Sandra could turn her eyes upward, Keanu suddenly stepped forward and wrapped one arm around her, pulling her slightly back. She gasped softly as her body moved. Her heart skipped a beat. The director called out, "Keanu, stay in the scene." But Keanu ignored him. The creaking grew louder for one sharp second. Then everything happened at once. A large light fixture from the ceiling suddenly detached from its hook. Sandra barely saw it before it fell. Keanu saw it first. He moved faster than thought. He grabbed Sandra's waist firmly and pulled her away with a strength she had never felt from him before. The light came crashing down. It hit the floor exactly where Sandra had been standing. The sound exploded through the room. Metal, glass, a burst of noise that shook everyone. People screamed, someone yelled to cut the power. Crew members ran in every direction. A few rushed toward Sandra and Keanu. Sandra's breath stopped, shock held her still. Keanu kept his arm around her, shielding her body with his. He did not move until the last piece of glass settled on the floor. He held her tight, his breathing fast, his chest rising and falling against her. Sandra whispered, voice shaking, "Keanu, you saved me." He looked at her with eyes full of fear, relief, and something deeper. He whispered back, "I saw it falling. I could not let anything happen to you." His voice broke on the last word. She had never heard him speak like that. Crew members rushed toward them, asking if they were hurt. But Keanu did not step away from Sandra until he was sure she was steady. Only then did he release her slowly, his hands still shaking. But when he stepped back fully, Sandra saw something unexpected. Keanu's hands were trembling. Not from fear, from emotion. He stared at the broken light on the floor, then at Sandra, then back at the floor. He looked like he was fighting something inside him. She reached for his hand instinctively, her voice soft, "Keanu, look at me." He looked up slowly. She whispered, "You are shaking." He swallowed hard. I thought I would not reach you in time." Her heart twisted at his words. He was not worried about himself. He did not even think about himself. All he cared about was her safety. The director came rushing over, shouting for an investigation. Someone asked for first aid. Someone else began checking the ceiling. The room turned chaotic. But Sandra did not take her eyes off Keanu. She gently squeezed his hand, grounding him the way he grounded her earlier. He closed his eyes for a moment, trying to calm down. When he opened them again, she saw something new in them. Vulnerability. Real, deep, unguarded. He whispered softly, "This is what I fear. Losing people I care for, not being fast enough. Not noticing danger in time. Every time something falls or someone slips, it brings everything back." Sandra's heart ached. She stepped closer to him, speaking softly so only he could hear. "Keanu, you did reach me in time. You did protect me. You were there when it mattered." He looked at her slowly, as if her words were pulling him out of a deep place. She continued gently, "You cannot stop every accident. You cannot see every danger. But you were here for me. You always are." His breathing steadied. His shaking slowed. He looked at her with quiet gratitude. Then in a soft voice full of truth, he whispered, "I do not ever want to see you hurt, not even for a moment." Those words touched her heart so deeply she could not speak for a few seconds. She felt her eyes fill with emotion she did not expect to feel this strongly. Before she could respond, the director announced a full break for safety inspection. The crew began clearing the area. People talked, checked equipment, and shook their heads at how close it had been. Keanu and Sandra stepped aside to a quieter corner. He looked at her with a mix of fear and relief still fading in his eyes. She reached out and gently touched his face, lifting it so he looked directly at her. She whispered, "You saved my life today." He shook his head softly. "I just reacted." She smiled gently. "No, you cared." Those words made him silent. His chest rose slowly as he breathed in, his eyes softening into something honest. Their faces were close now, their emotions even closer. But before anything more could happen, someone called them for a quick safety briefing. They stepped apart reluctantly, but something had changed between them forever. The way he held her, the way she leaned into him, the way he pulled her from danger without thinking, the way she looked at him afterward. This was not just connection now. This was something deeper, something undeniable, something neither of them could walk away from. But the real twist was coming. Because while the team blamed the fall on a loose latch, one small detail went unnoticed. The hook of the light fixture was not loose. It was cut. The studio felt different after the accident, quieter, colder. Every footstep carried a hint of fear. Everyone tried to keep working, but their eyes kept drifting toward the ceiling, toward the lights, toward the spot where the fixture had fallen. The director ordered a full inspection, but Sandra sensed something more than an accident had happened. Keanu sensed it too. He stayed near her without needing to say why. The hook begins when the safety team returned with their report. The room went silent. The head inspector cleared his throat and said something that made the entire set freeze. This did not fall by accident. Sandra felt the breath leave her chest. Keanu's eyes sharpened instantly. The inspector continued, "The latch was cleanly cut. Someone tampered with it." A wave of whispers spread across the room. Shock, fear, confusion. Sandra looked at Keanu immediately. He looked at her with the same realization. This was not a mistake. This was purposeful. But why? And who? Before she could process it, Keanu stepped closer protectively. He did not push her behind him. He did not hold her arm. He just stood near enough that she felt safe. The director tried calming the room, but the tension stayed heavy. Sandra whispered to Keanu someone wanted that to fall. He nodded slowly. His jaw tightened, and it almost hit you. Those words made her heart twist. She felt a shiver run through her. Someone on the set had created a danger that could have seriously hurt her, or worse. She looked around the room, suddenly aware of every face. Everyone looked worried, but fear could hide behind any expression. Keanu leaned closer and said quietly, "I am not letting you stay here alone. We stick together." His voice was low, steady, protective. She nodded without hesitation. The director asked everyone to gather for questioning. The crew formed a circle. The safety team asked each person about the lighting area, who touched what, who saw what. Sandra answered honestly. Keanu did too, but as people spoke, Sandra noticed something strange. One of the crew members, an older lighting assistant, kept glancing at her nervously. His hands shook. He kept wiping sweat from his forehead. He avoided eye contact. She watched him closely. Her instincts told her something was wrong. Then she remembered something. Yesterday, when they were helping the injured girl, she saw the same assistant rushing away from the storage room. She thought nothing of it then. Now it felt important. Keanu noticed her staring at the man. He whispered, "Do you recognize him from somewhere?" She nodded slowly. "He was there yesterday during the slip incident. I saw him near the boxes." Keanu's eyes sharpened. He studied the man quietly, almost too quietly. Then he whispered, "Let me talk to him." Before Sandra could answer, the safety inspector called the assistant forward. He asked him simple questions at first. "Where were you this morning? Did you check the lights? Did you see anything unusual?" The man stuttered through each answer. Sweat gathered on his forehead. He kept looking around like someone was watching him. Sandra felt her pulse quicken. Keanu stepped forward calmly and asked a simple question. "Have you been under pressure lately?" The room fell silent. Everyone turned. The assistant froze. His eyes widened. Sandra saw something crack inside him. His shoulders dropped. He whispered, voice breaking. It was not supposed to fall on anyone. I only loosened it a little. I did not think it would break. Gasps filled the room. Sandra's fingers tightened around her script. Keanu took a slow breath, not angry, not harsh, just steady. He asked, why would you do something like that? The man shook his head, eyes full of guilt. I was scared. I thought they would fire me if they found my mistake from last week. The producer yelled at me once and I panicked. I loosened it hoping they would find it during checks and blame the equipment, not me. I swear I did not know someone would be standing under it. Sandra felt her chest tighten. The situation was heartbreaking, dangerous but heartbreaking. She understood fear like that, fear that makes people act in desperation, fear that blinds you. She took a slow breath and said gently, mistakes do not need lies to fix them. You could have asked for help. The assistant started crying softly. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I did not mean to hurt anyone. Keanu stepped forward and crouched slightly so he spoke to the man at eye level. His voice stayed calm. You cannot undo what almost happened, but you can be honest now, make it right. Hiding fear makes it worse. Speaking it makes it lighter. The inspector took the assistant aside for formal reporting. The director handled the rest. The room slowly began to settle down. Some people cried softly from shock. Others stood quietly. But the tension slowly faded. Sandra felt her knees weaken. The stress of the last days, the fall, the danger, the confession, all of it finally hit her at once. Keanu saw her wobble slightly. In one smooth motion, he reached for her and placed his hand gently on her arm. Sandra, come with me. He guided her out of the crowded room and into a quieter hallway. Once they were alone, she leaned against the wall. Her breath came slow and shaky. Keanu stood in front of her with calm eyes. He said softly, breathe. You are safe now. She closed her eyes and listened to his voice. His presence soothed her again. She whispered, Keanu, I really could have been hurt. He nodded slowly, pain flickering in his eyes. Yes, and that thought will stay with me for a long time. She looked at him, heart full of emotion. He saved her. He kept her steady. He stayed by her side through every twist, every tension, every fear. She felt something deep rise inside her. She whispered, you always protect me. He shook his head gently. Not always, but I will always try. Silence settled between them, warm, emotional, full of truth. He stepped a little closer, his voice low. Today showed me something. I cannot control everything, but I can be present. I can stay close. I can care, and I do care, maybe more than I should, maybe more than I planned. Her breath caught, her heart softened. She whispered, maybe I care more than I planned too. His eyes softened instantly. For one long, beautiful moment, they simply looked at each other, two souls who had been slowly moving toward this point, pulled close by kindness, trust, and shared fears. Keanu raised his hand slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. She did not. She leaned into his touch as he gently brushed a stray hair from her face. His voice was soft, honest, and warm. I am glad you are safe. I am glad I reached you. I am glad you are here. Her eyes filled with emotion. She whispered, and I am glad you were the one who came for me. The hallway felt quiet, still, calm, for the first time in days. Keanu lowered his forehead gently against hers. They shared a breath, a warmth, a truth neither could ignore anymore. This was not just connection. This was not just comfort. This was something real. Something deep. Something beginning. The day had been filled with fear, danger, and unexpected truth, but it also brought them closer in a way nothing else could. And as they stood there, forehead to forehead, breathing softly, something inside both of them whispered gently. This is where healing begins. This is where trust grows. This is where something beautiful starts.